Hello, Pirate Dave here. I just got back from watching Supergirl in IMAX AMC 20 in Mission Valley. It was an 8:15 a.m. showing. It's a very cool of them to do a special morning showing because I work at night, so I very rarely get to go to the movie theaters. Anyway, enough preamble. I had wanted to show off a little bit of the goodies that I got for going to the see Supergirl in IMAX. One of them was free, and the other two were considerably expensive. So let's go ahead and get into those goodies right now, and then I'll give my little mini review after you see the swag here. Up first, this is a special variant of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow #1. This was free for anybody that went to see Supergirl at AMC in IMAX on the 25th or today the 26th. But don't be torn if you missed out on getting this variant. First of all, it was given away to everybody that went to see Supergirl in IMAX for free. I guarantee that most of those people are probably not comic book readers, so you'll probably be able to find this for sale on eBay pretty quickly and probably for very cheap. And secondly, this illustration is also available for Justice League. It's a Justice League variant that came out this week as well. So the only thing that's, as far as I'm aware, that's special about this particular illustration is really the dressing, that you're getting Supergirl filmed for IMAX, and then, the logo for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, only in theaters, the IMAX logo. Perhaps there's a different ad on the back of the Justice League one. This one is for Absolute Batman Collection. As for the insides, the interior, the inner covers are, of course, ads for current trades. There are a couple of ads for Trinity Trade and crypto. The perhaps the most interesting thing is that there is a preview in here for Wonder Woman #31. Of course, Wonder Woman is also being written by the same writer of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, Tom King. So if you're interested in a preview for the Wonder War Part 1 and Wonder Woman #31, that is included in this reprint of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. It's cool. Like I said, if I absolutely wanted the illustration, I could have picked up a Justice League variant. But I will say it's cool to have this cover on the actual book that Bilquis Evely, herself illustrated. And I mean, now I have it, so it just feels more appropriate, right? That was free. Just came with the ticket. I also picked up the Supergirl special edition cup, I guess you would say. It comes with a topper. There are 3 toppers to choose from. One is Supergirl, one is Crypto, and then one is Lobo. And because of the third item I got, decided to go for Supergirl for the topper. And you can see it's a pretty good likeness of Millie Alcock. I mean, of course, the suit is looking great as well. The cape is a little loose, I would say. I don't think it's detachable. I don't believe it is, but it certainly shakes around. Sorry for the blurriness there. And there's the bottom of the topper. And you just push it right in, slides right on. I would have gotten all 3 toppers. I did ask them if you could purchase the toppers separately, but you had to buy a whole nother cup to get a whole nother topper. So, and as for the cup, very cool. This part is like coated in a rubber. I imagine it's made out of some plastic, but it feels very rubbery. And then this is not molded plastic. This is actually a rubber that's a separate piece. I'm pretty sure this is not detachable either. But it's so bizarre, and it feels it feels so bizarre as well. It feels like the way that you imagine fake skin will on the first robots that that are made to look like humans. Um, I think this is an awesome gimmick for a collector cup, to be honest. And of course, you can hear the liquid shaking around. I am using it. I will use it. It's a very cool cup. I'm not the type of guy that usually picks up these collector things and doesn't make doesn't make use of them. And lastly, and most expensively, we have the main man. Look at that, Lobo, and you can see pretty good likeness on Jason Momoa's Lobo there, and of course riding the Space Hog. We do see a good deal of Lobo and the Space Hog in this movie. In case you were wondering, you can just check out the details there. I don't need to talk too much over the main man. This is detachable. The seat and I would guess it would be gas tank comes off, so you can get a better look. He's just sort of little Scooty Puff Jr. version of the Space Hog. And get some of those chest details if you can see in there. Chest, that Lobo chest. And this is I mean, it's not really like a popcorn bucket. I guess you could put popcorn in there if you were really rationing yourself. I would describe it more like a candy dish, right? You put some M&Ms, some Skittles in there. There'd be a considerable amount that you could squeeze into it. This is all molded plastic. None of it is movable. The wheels don't move or anything like that. This is not real fire. Don't be alarmed. I'm not burning myself. $75 or total. Sorry, not for this. This was $50 for the Lobo candy dish, I guess you would say. That's probably not the hardest thing to describe for a Lobo molded thing. And the collector's cup was $25. So $75 total for the swag. It was $20 for the ticket, so you know, and that's an IMAX, and it was a special time, right? It was 8:15 in the morning. How often do they play movies at 8:15? And of course, it came with that special variant comic book. I'm going to show the insides of this number one while I talk about the movie. I'm not going to spoil too much of the movie, but I did want speak on like the differences that it is. And I will say the big thing is like, did I enjoy the movie? No, I didn't. I didn't enjoy the movie so much. Like, in fact, at certain times I was considering walking out, not really because it was so bad. I just didn't enjoy the movie. And like I said, I do work at night, so the sooner I could leave, the sooner I could get ready for bed and make this, you know, video showing off the cool swag I got and all that. By the way, that may seem silly. Oh, I just noticed there's a switch on this Lobo here, but nothing's actually lighting up. Maybe these flames are supposed to light up. Sorry, train of thought. That may seem silly, but I think part of it is because I already know the story of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. It's a great story, and unfortunately, if you know the story as well, you know, you'll have to fight hard against not holding it as a measuring stick against what's happening on the screen. And I could give it some excuse, the Supergirl movie, that it's a different medium and they're going for a wider audience. You know, it's a whole different challenge. But there was just no faith in the format of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow story. And what I mean is the way that this book works is that we don't see Supergirl until, you know, a few fair pages in. Look at that. She appears on page 9 or 10, maybe even 11 or 12. We get to know Ruthie, and we get to know her story, and we get to know something particular about her, which is that there's nothing special about Ruthie's circumstance. What makes her special is the way it makes her feel, the ambition and the drive that it gives her, because of how she's lost her entire world in the death of her father. In the movie, not only do they change that, and that's not to say she doesn't, you know, lose somebody, but let's just leave it at they change it. They also change her circumstance. Her father is special. Her family is special. She is special in the grander scheme of things, right? In Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, her father's a rock farmer and she's the youngest of the 7 kids and she's the only girl, and she's the only one that's willing to set out to actually avenge her father's. Do you understand what I'm saying? The circumstance is not special, she is. But in the Supergirl movie, the circumstance is special, so she must be. And I mean that's the core premise that I have a problem with. Also, of course, the movie is not really told from Ruthie's perspective, so it leans on Supergirl a lot. It leans on Kara a lot to deliver exposition and to, I mean, drive the action, of course, instead of this narration from Ruthie. And it's like, what was the alternative? Well, the alternative was to do what the story is based off of, the way True Grit did, and have this, not only this narrative to open up the story and to give people that rock to center around as the analog for the audience, but it was also, I mean, it was also a way to make the character interesting. Because I don't know about you, but like True Grit was fantastic and fun just to listen to the eloquence of Haley Steinfeld delivering the dialogue she had, and even Jeff Bridges delivering the dialogue he had. And this Supergirl does not have that. It doesn't have that killer dialogue writing, that eloquence that makes it feel like you're almost listening to poetry. It's probably, the way that I think that, and this may be this may be, cheesy, but I think it's probably the way that people felt back when they listened to Shakespeare, when he was, putting on plays in Elizabethan England. True Grit is just so delicately written, and Supergirl is not delicately written. But did anybody expect that? Is this earth shattering news to you? No, not at all. Um, I do think that if you are familiar with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, if you're familiar with True Grit, this movie is probably going to disappoint you. Maybe you're just better in that regard than me. You're a better, more faithful viewer, and you're able to separate completely what Supergirl is attempting to do from those better works, those more special works. But if I can approach any point of objectivity, I will say the big question may be, is it better than Superman? And no, not at all. And the problem is that you really only have Supergirl and Ruthie driving the investment from the audience. In Superman, you had Superman, you had Lois Lane, you had Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen did not have a small role in that. He was charming. You had Lex Luthor, this fascinating villain, and then you had all the awesome superheroes around Superman in the Justice Gang, in Green Lantern, in Mr. Terrific, in Hawkgirl. And here, the only backup we have is Lobo, and that's not a spoiler. People know that Lobo's in there. Lobo is in this movie more than I thought he would be. I don't like I don't like the way that he's portrayed. It's not offensive. I mean that in the Lobo fan sense, right? But it's also not offensive. He's not really. He's a very toned down version of the Lobo character, I mean, for comedic effect, and that's probably to be expected with James Gunn and all that. It's not surprising. It's just a little bit disappointing because they don't go full tilt with him. This is not a Lobo that you would have seen from the Simon Bisley era. This is not even a Lobo that you would have seen from Crush and Lobo, a more recent depiction of him. And it's certainly not a Lobo from the current Lobo run. It's a Lobo that's, he he means what he says, and he says what he means, and he doesn't do things unless it's for money. And it's like he doesn't do things just to entertain himself. And in fact, he says something to that effect. He says, "I don't kill for sport." And that may be true, but he does kill for even lesser reasons, classically. And that's fine. That's not going to be this Lobo, and you're not going to get away with making a movie like that, I think, necessarily. But I'm probably rambling at this point. Supergirl, it's not a movie that I'd really want to watch again, even on streaming. Like I might put it on in the background, but I don't think it would catch my attention. Again, I go to that measuring stick too often with True Grit, too often with Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. There's too many scenes in it that were too long. I mean, that includes scenes that were in the book that are obvious references, and that also includes scenes that were new but unnecessary. And it's as they're going on, you're just I don't know, you just don't get a sense of danger, and that's the trouble, right? Like you know that Supergirl's not going to fail here, but she has Ruthie with her, and you wonder, well, maybe Ruthie's gonna die. And if you know this, if you know the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow story, you know that's not gonna happen. But I'm saying for an audience member that is not familiar with either of these, the stakes are still pretty low, and the villain is just completely uncompelling. That's not to say that he was super compelling in the comic book, but he had a dimension to him that was vile all on its own plane of existence, whereas the movie really just executes him way heavy-handedly and makes him more of a threat than he should be, because Krem in the book is not a threat. He's just a circumstantial underestimated, an underestimated sort of piece of slime. But in the movie, he's a supervillain. So, and I don't think that gives too much away, but maybe just enough to give you an idea of how different they are. Anyway, I think that's enough of me rambling. I do hope that if you saw Supergirl or you plan to see Supergirl, that you enjoyed it. And uh, I'm just being a curmudgeonly, angry, guy about what I was expecting, and I don't know. I wanted True Grit in space. I'm sorry, I wanted True Grit in space, and this doesn't really even approach True Grit in space. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was fun for you, and if you stuck around for the movie review, thank you. But I do think that I just went off on a diatribe, and most of what I said probably wasn't useful to most people out there. Hopefully you enjoyed the swag. We could get another look at it if you're still here, so you don't have to go back in the timeline there. Get all three of these things on camera. That'd be really cool, right? And here, hey man, I think the merchandising is really awesome. I love these things. They're really great, well detailed, cool set pieces. And if nothing else, I'm not mad that I spent, along with a crypto bucket, over $100 for these for these little items. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll see you again with another movie review sometime in the future that I will think more highly of. Thanks. Bye.